I'm probably like you, a huge fan of Clubhouse. I'm putting together this video of tips and tricks for how to moderate a room on Clubhouse. So I've moderated a bunch of rooms. I've been asked by people to moderate rooms. I reached out to other moderators I know that have been asked to moderate rooms for people. I've reached out to people who hang out in Clubhouse rooms, and I've reached out to some professional type speaker people to come up with a bunch of really great tips that are going to help you feel confident to start a Clubhouse room, to moderate a Clubhouse room, and to moderate a Clubhouse room that people want to hang out in. So let's start at the start with some real truths. Let's also make sure our camera is recording. Okay, let's start at the start with some real truth. If a room on Clubhouse is boring, no one's sticking around. No one's sticking around if it's not upbeat, if it's not on pace, if it's not super fun, it feels like it's moving along, it feels like it's going somewhere. If it's kind of dull and boring, people are going to check out. They're going to jump off and go to another room.
Now I'm just here hanging out with myself, and this is kind of awkward.
The first task as a moderator is to keep the flow of that conversation going, to keep bringing people up on stage, adding energy, adding enthusiasm, adding interesting topics, keeping the movement and the pace and the rhythm of the room. The next tip is to be thankful to the other moderators or speakers in your room and to the guests in your room. The lead moderator, or as the head moderator, if you're trying to make a room that people want to be a part of, that has energy and has flow, make it exciting for all the people who are visiting that room to want to talk to your speakers. Make it about them and just facilitate the conversation. Let's talk more about facilitating the conversation. So if you've been on Clubhouse, you know that people are raising their hands, they're coming up on stage, and they're talking. The goal, again, of a room is to keep the flow, keep the pace, keep it upbeat, keep it moving, to create a sense of intrigue. So when somebody jumps into that room, they're like, there's something going on in this room. Everybody's chatting, everybody's excited. They must be excited about this topic. I'm going to stick around. This room is the place to be. And to do that, you gotta be able to facilitate that conversation. This is where controlling the raising of hands is really going to help you out. If you are always letting a bunch of people on stage or making a bunch of people moderators, these things can kind of hiccup the flow of a room. Sometimes you can end up in a situation where one person asks a question and you have 10 different moderators who are chiming in talking about the same thing. That can start to sort of inhibit the flow of the room. Controlling the flow of the speakers and controlling the flow of the hands is going to create a pace and a rhythm to your conversation. Now, if you've been on Clubhouse for a second, you know the thing that messes up the flow or the jam of a good Clubhouse conversation is when somebody gets on the mic and they are giving their whole entire long background story.
They're telling you what their grandma did. They're telling you what their dog ate for breakfast. They maybe don't really have a question, or they have a question, but they feel the need to explain and justify their question for like a really long time before they get to what, see how I'm rambling and how much this sucks, and you're like, get to the point.
Help people get to the point. You need almost all the people who want to speak to feel like they're gonna have a chance to speak. So you got to be able to control that microphone. To do that in a really kind way, I usually try to sum up what it is they're saying. So know how to complete the conversation. Be like, yeah, I hear you. I get what you're saying. Let me see if I can sum up your question. You want to facilitate the conversation for those experts who have brought you in as a moderator. Again, create that enthusiasm, create that momentum, and create that flow that's keeping people engaged instead of losing the other listeners in the weeds. Now, hey guys, Clubhouse is new to all of us. So if you have an amazing tip for moderating or something you've seen somebody do that you think we should all consider, drop it down in the comment section down below. Okay, this is a gem of a tip and I absolutely love this, especially for keeping pace, keeping momentum, keeping excitement and enthusiasm in a room. The magic of a room is to really create that conversation, get things going. But sometimes you end up in a room and you are asking, hey, does anybody have any questions? And crickets. You just can't get a person up on stage. There's 2 techniques that work really, really well for this. The first thing is to remind everybody that's listening that, hey, there's no stupid questions. Remember that old thing they used to say in school? Raise your hand, don't be scared, because if it's a question for you, it's probably a question for somebody else. I literally repeat that when I'm hostessing a room, and every single time it gives people that boost of encouragement to pop their hand up in the air. The other thing that you can do is just remind the people down below, let them know that you're interacting with them. Hey guys, I see you down there. I'm sure you have a bunch of questions. The stage is totally open. We want to hear from you. Maybe you just have a value contribution. Please put your hand up so we can bring you up on stage and make you part of the conversation. You want to inject new blood and new questions into the conversation to keep it moving forward. And if you're just getting those, doing those 2 simple things, that's gonna get some hand raising going on and get some interaction in your room. So my last 2 hacks for moderating a Clubhouse room, if you're getting started with moderating, is get some fire round questions in your back pocket. When you hit one of those moments where you're asking for questions from the audience and you're getting the dreaded crickets. This is the point where you really want to have some insightful fire round questions that are in relation to the topic that you're having. And the last thing that you've probably seen moderators do all over the place is don't forget to reset the room. Repeat that topic of conversation, especially if it tends to go off tangent. Reintroduce all of your speakers, who they are, what makes them great, and of course do that call to action reminder to follow them on all their socials. Oh, one other thing. This is my little Liz trick, and this is something that I do in my rooms to keep it upbeat and keep it moving. I have a 100-person rule. As soon as my rooms have more than 100 people in it, I switch the question and answer period to 60-second lightning round questions. This gets as many people up on the stage as possible. It gets the flow. It really gets the energy and enthusiasm up. It really makes the crowd down below feel like, hey, it's okay. I can stick around and wait for my turn, because she's only letting people have 60 seconds to speak. So it really creates this sort of runaway train of energy and excitement in the room if you control it to that 60 seconds. Don't forget, if you have a tip, guys, I want to hear it, because Lord knows I've probably left a million things out and you've got an amazing tool that you use. So drop it down below and share it with all the people.